Garland Nixon is a political analyst and radio show host. He's now joining us live from Maryland, the United States. Good to see you, Mr. Nixon. What struck you the most from the convention, except from Trump and Meloni's statements?
I think a couple of things. Number one, I think the presence of the Polish president. I think from the perspective of foreign policy, the interactions that the president is having with the European Union right now, and I guess you want to call it a political battle against the more traditional, what we may call the liberal or the centrist elements in Europe right now. I think President Duda was basically showing that he has made a decision to go with President Trump, and that we're seeing a bloc form, including Presidents Duda, Meloni, and something else I thought was interesting, and that was that President Robert Fico from Slovakia, being a man who is an old school lefty who draws his political legacy from, say, the Soviet Union socialism or communism, being welcomed into the fray. I thought that was interesting because of the foreign policy contingent, where there is a certain contingent of the left that is supporting Donald Trump's foreign policy, particularly in Europe because of Ukraine and maybe not a lot of other places. But I thought those were two very interesting, very interesting people showing up there because of what's going on in Europe right now and Ukraine.
Mr. Nixon, let's talk about the Italian Prime Minister's statement and her attacks towards mainstream media and the ruling class, as she calls them. She calls the liberal network for branding her talks with Donald Trump, President Javier Milei, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi a threat to democracy. She also justified that this is happening now and Trump will not move away from Europe and Trump is there to stay. Are her statements justified, or what message was she trying to put across?
Well, I think one of the things we're also seeing in Europe, and that is that the Trumpian movement is working to rework the political leadership in Europe in their own image, shall we say, particularly bringing in Nigel Farage, supporting the AfD, the more, for lack of a better term, what a lot of people refer to as the populist right or the far right or the alt-right, et cetera. So I think what Meloni was implying is that there will be, or there's an ongoing change in leadership in Europe, moving more in the direction of Donald Trump. A lot of people now feel that the U.S. is going to just walk away from Europe, partially because of his disagreements over foreign policy with the Keir Starmers and the Olaf Scholzes. So I think the implication for Europe right now is a change in the political leadership more in the direction of a Donald Trump, and that would somehow cause the Trump administration to realign with Europe rather than to lead it. And I think that's that there are several indications from that we can plainly see that I'm not going to say that may happen, but there's certainly indicators that could be the case.
Just very quickly, do you think Trump will realign with Europe at this juncture?
Well, I think right now, the current leadership in Europe, they don't get along with Donald Trump at all. And the direction that the Trump administration is moving is to disengage with Europe and to get out of Europe. But I do think that they would probably prefer to realign with Europe, but not the European leadership of today, with the Melonis and the Nigel Farages of Europe. So I think there's a tug of war politically going on between the Trump administration and the Europeans. And ultimately, I think Donald Trump will more than likely use economic leverage to bully and push around the leadership of Europe to get his way. And let me add this, because after the Ukraine conflict, because Europe has disengaged itself from cheap energy in Russia, it actually gives Donald Trump or whoever's the president of the United States more leverage to bully Donald Trump, to bully the European leaders to get his way. And Donald Trump is a guy that, he's unabashedly and unashamedly known for using bullying techniques to enforce the policy that he wants.
Mr. Garland Nixon, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you very much for your insights today.
Thank you very much.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.